Meanwhile, here in New York, reaction pouring in over news of possible migrant ship in Staten Island. Locals now caught off guard after news broke of a cruise ship possibly docking at the home port in Stapleton to help deal with the city's migrant crisis.
Now, this comes after New York Mayor Eric Adams was set to close a deal with Norwegian Cruise Lines to lease one of their ships for at least 6 months, using the site to house migrants as they're processed into the city's shelter system. Here to discuss is host of Wise Guys right here on Newsmax, John Tabacco, and former commissioner in the Giuliani and Bloomberg administrations, Brian Andersson. John, what's up with cruise ships here? Do you think that's a legitimate solution?
Well, look, I'm on today as Citizen John Tabacco, not host of Wise Guys, because I live in Staten Island and I got my finger on the pulse of what's happening here. For starters, I can assure you Julie McCoy in the Welcome Committee will not be waiting for this cruise ship.
I was waiting for a Love Boat reference. I'm so happy you delivered.
We got it out of the way, just like that.
Thank you.
Good. Well, look. You guys know this. During the lockdowns, during the forced mandates, Staten Island was the only borough that was standing up for themselves and punching back at these tyrants. I talked to our borough president. I talked to a lot of community leaders. We're good Christians. We know we got to take care of the people once they're here, even though they're here for bad policies. But Staten Island will not stand by and let these people come into our community and commit crimes like you were just talking about, where a police officer was run over by an illegal alien. And I think Eric Adams needs to check his head before he takes on Staten Island.
What are your thoughts here, Brian?
All right, speaking for the northernmost borough in the Bronx, we've got tents being set up in an Orchard Beach parking lot that tends to flood when it's raining. And indeed, with the rainy weekend, they're suddenly worried about this. But at the same time, all the expense we're going through because they refuse to secure the border. All this amount of money could be spent on police officers and getting our streets back under control. It's a little distressing. But John, I agree with you that we do have hearts. We understand we need to take care of these people, but we need to move them through the system or out somehow. It's too much of a burden on our city and the communities.
Yeah, John, to Brian's point, who should be paying for this? I mean, as a New York resident, I'm assuming it's going to be me along with other taxpayers, but who should be paying for this, for the cruise ship? Does the cruise ship make money? Do they donate the cruise ship? How does this work, or how should it work?
Well, I can tell you this. My cursory investigation says it's costed $15 to $20 million to build the tents out in the Bronx. The initial estimates are about $10 million for the cruise ships.
Wow.
So there's a savings involved in it to the city. But who's paying, Katrina, is us, New York State taxpayers and federal taxpayers, hopefully, because Eric Adams, as they call him, the swagger man here, he's sticking it to the Bronx and Staten Island and trying to keep it out of his showpiece. But during the COVID-19 lockdowns, there were a lot of tents set up in Central Park by Samaritan's Purse. I wonder why Eric Adams isn't just putting them in Central Park.
Yeah, one of the things, Brian, that strikes me is I think they're using the immigrants coming in as an excuse. I'm betting there are going to be hundreds on there that are just the homeless people they can't deal with in the city.
Oh, for me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bait and switch.
I just kind of seeing the way city politics work. It's like blame, for instance, blame Abbott or blame DeSantis for sending immigrants to New York, even though you're not dealing with your own problems. Now use them as an excuse to get these ships.
Well, there was a city council member that got all twisted over this detail. Only this detail, not anything else, is that the contractor was the same one that worked for the Trump wall. That's what got her all twisted out of shape, never mind everything else. So that's where we are, and we wonder why we don't trust city government.
John Tabacco, your final thoughts on this?
Well, look, like I said, we're great Christians here in Staten Island. We're great people of all faiths, so we know these people have to be taken care of. But I would say send out your prayers most to Eric Adams if he's going to try to force this down the throat of Staten Islanders, because they will not stand for it.
All right, Brian Andersson, John Tabacco, thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.